Hey guys, so like many people, we are in quarantine slash lockdown slash self-isolation. We're not sick,
No,
thankfully,
luckily.
but we are bored as fuck. In order to not be bored, we've made a choice to shoot, or challenged ourselves to shoot once a weekend.
Yep.
Based, since we can't go out and get things, we are using household items, paint,
Trash,
paper mache, different makeup techniques, and whatnot to do some portraits and some weird stuff and whatnot. So this is gonna be our first video, our sort of how-to. It's not really a how-to. It's a
So what we did.
What we did. So we're
What
gonna walk you
happened?
through the steps, or what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Ooh. Walk you through the steps of kind of what we're doing to set things up.
Yeah.
All right. So today, for our first look, what we decided to do is a beauty look, sort of an avant-garde beauty look, particularly because, as you can see behind us, and we'll get a close-up here in a second, we had a canvas laying around that Sophie paints on that was fresh, and I said, hey, can I borrow this canvas and make a background out of it? So we did exactly that. I painted this backdrop. And it looks nice, but it's very clean. It's got a lot of detail in it. And so I thought, well, for the more painted style looks, it's not really appropriate. But it's really clean and really nice, and I'd hate to not photograph that. So I asked Sophie if she would get together with me and come up with a makeup look that we could shoot against that was mainstream-ish, but still avant-garde, but not scary per se.
Yeah.
And so what was the look we've come up with?
So all I've heard from Chad in terms of direction was, I'm going to paint your neck and like chest white.
I'm going to pick hers, yes.
And can you do some big lips, overdrawn lips?
Yeah.
And do something cool with your eyes.
Yeah.
And that's basically
That's about the extent of the instructions we tend to give each other.
We
I
should-
want to do this thing, and here's one tiny piece. Can you just fill in the blanks?
Yeah, so that's my job today, is to figure out what that's going to look like. We just had a quick conversation about what we might do in terms of hair or covering hair.
Covering hair.
And yeah, that's where we're starting.
So
no planning.
Here we go. And like most projects here at the Lamb House, we have completely changed directions. Sophie is currently making some millinery hat pieces. You want to tell us what we're doing?
Yeah, so after I had a chance to think about what Chad had said, I was drawn to this dark background that he's created. And my first thought went to the Dutch portraits paintings. So I Googled Dutch portrait painting, and up came this amazing picture of a woman with this sort of lovely white clean hat. And I love the ruff that she wears, and I was inspired to try and replicate something a little bit like this. So I pitched it to Chad. Chad was cool with it. And now I am ripping apart a previous piece that we made and sticking a white bedsheet to it to try and make my version of this.
All right, and here we are. As you can see, we've gone a completely different direction with Sophie than we had initially decided. She's made this little headpiece. I had a ruff laying around that we've grabbed, and some fabric, and this giant crucifix thing that we had hanging on the wall. So this is where we're going to play with today. I'm using a single light. I've got the Profoto 3-foot Octa on there, and my power pack. We are doing some short lighting. We may adjust it and play with it, but I think this is probably going to give us the look we're going for, which is sort of the old Dutch masters painting. So let's do a shoot and see what happens. Hey guys, now we have completed our 2 looks, well, 3 looks for the day. we ended up doing a second variation on our very last look. That was very cool, which we'll share with you probably in a second or third video. So what we're going to do now is we've imported our images into Lightroom. I use Lightroom Classic because I learned on the original Lightroom, and I never really got into the new Lightroom. So I'm not sure if it's better or not. Probably is, but I'm a Lightroom Classic guy. Also, today marks the first day that we're using Lightroom on this particular laptop. My other laptop that I usually edit on bricked after a driver update. So we are without that computer. So this will be the brand new version of Lightroom Classic. In the fact that we're using this brand new version, I have lost all my presets as well that were on the other computer. So for you guys, that's good because it means we're going to be doing everything from completely scratch. And we'll try to talk it through as we go as to what we're doing and what we're doing. So we've already imported our images and made our selections of which ones we liked. What we usually do is bring them into Lightroom and just rate the images. If we've done a really large shoot, we'll go through 2 or 3 times and narrow it down to the best, like top 10 if we can. In this instance, we've got 25 images that we really like from the shoot. Obviously, we probably won't do all 25. I'm going to walk you through the editing of one of them, and we'll go from there. Yep. Sound good? All right, let's do it. So as you can see, I have already got Lightroom open, and the first image selected. We are currently in library, so I'm going to hop on over to developed. All right. So now that we have our 25 images up, we are going to kind of go through them real quick and decide which one we want to use. This is usually a pretty collaborative effort. Sophie has her favorites, I have my favorites, but typically we'll find the one that we're both like, oh my God, this is the one. Let's do that there. So we're just going to do a quick review of these images. And I'm just using the arrow key to cycle through. Like this is my heart. It is one of my favorites. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite. So this is one we're going to start with. All right, here we go. So right away, I've come over here again. This is the first time we've been using Lightroom Classic. I think the other version we had on the laptop was the original Lightroom that I had not updated. So first thing I like to do is set the auto balance to auto, or color balance, pardon me. And that gives us the true color. Now, I could walk away with this and be happy, to be honest. I think this is a stunning image. What we were trying to do is sort of this old Dutch Masters look with this. And right here, this looks like it. This looks like a Dutch Masters thing. But that would be boring if we just stopped the channel. So we're going to go play, and we're going to do some of the tricks and things that I like to do and see if they work for us and if we like them. So I'm not a fan of the auto button on Lightroom. It tends to overexpose and do some weird things. I like a very painterly quality to mine, so I tend not to do that. So here I feel like the whites are a little punchy, possibly. So I'll bring those whites down a little bit, or the highlights I should say. And then I'm going to open those shadows just a little bit more. Maybe bring my black in.
Yeah, I like how I almost disappear into it. When I was looking at that reference photo, there was almost no distinction between the background and the outfit she had. Absolutely. It gives you that kind of, I'm in an old building with like one window.
Right. So here we've really kind of got that vibe here. All right. So again, this is the first time I've used Lightroom Classic. So some of these tabs are actually a little different than I'm used to seeing. So texture, that's a brand new one for me. 100%, that's more of a definition thing. So I'm not really gonna, let's blow it up, see what it does here. And that's really interesting. That's kind of a neat little tool. You can see all your pores here, which obviously we don't want to do. But I do add like putting a little bit of the texture in there, just a little nick. Clarity, you know, in the old days, a lot of people like to get crazy with their clarity there. I like to go the opposite direction, unless it's black and white. and drop it down just enough to get some creamy skin. Vibrance again. So the colors right out the box. I'm kind of loving already, but we'll play with it a little bit. I kind of like that, right? Saturation I don't usually futz around with too much.
That's cool.
Kind of do that.
Yeah, just to chill it out a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of oil painting that's had a chance to wear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look.
And the warm tones tend to seep in real quick. The other thing I like to do is I like to come to my curves, and I like to do one of the things I really look to do in most of my work is to get away from true blacks. Now, once we're done here in Lightroom, we're going to move this over into Photoshop, where then I can bring the blacks back out, make them deeper if I want. But here I tend to try to get away from those true blacks, and it just gives it a little bit more of a painterly quality to it if you leave those blacks just a hint off 100% there. And then leave it that way. So down here, sometimes I really get crazy with the colors, changing them up and whatnot. Here, I don't know that I want to do too much. I think that the cheeks are a little bit too orange, so I'm going to bring it down just a smidge. Same with the reds. Just a tiny little bit. That might be too much. Maybe bring some orange back there. And again, this picture really didn't need a lot done to it here in Lightroom, but we're playing. So split toning, that's another huge favorite of mine. You can get so many variations and interesting things with split toning. So I always like to come in here, raise up my saturation, and then play with that color. Like of a lot of images, I'll either go really cold on into the skin, or I'll try to find this sort of greenish blue, that sort of halfway point between yellow, green, and blue. And then I'll play with the saturation a little bit more just to see what it's going to give me. Find a plate where I like it. And then come down and do the same thing with shadows, where we bump it up the saturation a little bit, and then we just kind of tweak. I'm really, again, but my goal is to get a very painterly looking image. Obviously, I could have left this alone pretty much out of the box with some minor corrections and called it a really good photo. Not good enough for me.
This is looking rad.
This is looking rad.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our toning in there. We'll leave that there for now. Sharpening, I don't usually mess with too much. Noise reduction, I always pop that on a little bit just in case. I don't really check it too much, but just in case I need it. In this case, we didn't. We shot with my Acute Pro Photos, and there's so much light being blasted out of there. It's such a high f-stop that I don't have to worry about too much noise. And then you can check your chromatic aberrations and do some profile corrections if you want. In this case, I don't really mess with it too much because we're on a 100mm lens. There isn't much to correct. If I was on a wider lens, this is a good place to come and fix those issues that wide lenses tend to have. And that really kind of takes us through to the end here. I don't really want to transform anything or do any kind of effects or anything like that. Now, something I might want to consider doing is I come up here to our gradiated tools. I love this linear gradation. And this gives me the opportunity to control the light a little bit more if I want. So sometimes if I want to just take out some of that corner light and really shape where that light's coming down, and cheat that a little bit, see what that looks like. And I like that. It takes away that it was a little too bright on the corner, and it really draws your eye down into her, which is what we want, without losing too much of the detail around here. I'd call this done, at least in Lightroom, right? It's a really exciting picture. You should blow it up here, see what I've got, and that's a nice picture. I also want to check for any kind of moire pattern in the blacks. I don't really see any, so that's good. I'd call this done, at least in Lightroom. All right, so from here, we will take it into a Photoshop folder. So organization is really important when you are editing, as most of you probably know. And so what I like to do as you'll see here, is I start with the date and then I name the shoot. And within that folder, I've got the CR2 files, my original files, and then I'll create another one and I just call that PSD. You may have a different way of doing it. This is the way I do it. So we're going to export that out to a Photoshop file and tell it to open up in Photoshop 2020. Sure, why not? I haven't used Photoshop 2020 yet, so we're about to try that out. It's going to open up there. Nothing else. See anything else I want to do to it? Nope, pretty much good. Image format, actually. Make sure that's set to PSD. And we're good to go. So let's export it and see what happens next. All right, so now we're in Photoshop. And again, because we're on a new machine, I don't have any of my presets that I'm used to using. I like to work with color lookup tables more than anything. I have a feeling that my options here are going to be very limited. So we'll do what we can. As with all color correction, I do everything as an adjustment layer, in case I want to come back and edit it at another time. And as I feared, I don't have many of the presets that I used to use, but we'll do what we can. So this one right here, Kodak 5218, Kodak 2383, is one of my favorite applications because it just adds a really film quality to this. And this right away really gives it this insane painted look. Again, I was really happy with this, but wow, that looks like a painting. Might be a touch dark, so we're just gonna back that off just a little bit, maybe down to about 65%. And again, let's get that set right. Really does some insane, like I'm really proud of this picture already. From there, we could play around with some other things, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to leave this as is. Sometimes I do like to come in and add also, again, using adjustment layer, a photo filter, just to see what other little things I can do. Warming is nice, very creamy skins. Underwater is kind of my favorite go-to. Again, because it's just that green look. So this is really just a taste thing. I mean, there's no right answer here or wrong answer. It's really what you're into. And I like both. I'm not going to lie. So we had before and we had after. Before and after. And then we've got the warm and we've got the cold. What do you think?
I want to see something yellowy. Do you have a yellow filter?
She wants to go yellow. Let's go to, we'll start with sepia. Sepia's got a very warmth to it. Subtle.
It's still red. Like my face has this kind of readiness to it. Yeah. Closer.
That is nice.
Right?
Now from there,
Yeah, and then
I can up the thing. Now I don't want this to get too stylized.
no, it's like just a hair.
We're gonna leave this back here. Let's check that. All right. Now, if you fear that there's too much red in your face, and I think you're seeing things, but you can always come
That's
in.
what you said yesterday.
No, I in this instance I disagree. But if that is an issue, we'll come here. We'll affect just the reds.
This is tricky because I realize I'm seeing this from like way over here,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm getting a completely different picture than you are.
All right. So this was before. This is after. I like the red because I feel that again keeps it in the realm of painting. So color-wise, I'm happy with this. I could absolutely live with this image, color-wise. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna call that a thing. Now we're gonna get in here and do some retouching. So because I don't have a Wacom tablet installed on this computer, and because I don't have my retouching action that I use, I do a frequency separation filter on this. So today we're just gonna wing it. Sometimes you don't have the things you need, and so you make do with what you got. So we're gonna go ahead and duplicate this layer so that we don't fuck it up. And I'm gonna come in here. Now I'm not gonna make too many. This is not an advertisement for a magazine. This is supposed to be, a painted look. So we're gonna go through and we're gonna do some little cleanup just here and there. Now, again, I'd rather do this with some frequency separation. If you don't know frequency separation, which I'm sure most of you do, then you should look into it. Unfortunately, again, I don't have it on this computer, so I am editing directly without any kind of separation, which means that when I use the healing tool here, it is affecting both the texture and the color of the image. Frequency separation allows you to separate those out into different layers and edit them accordingly. So we're just going through and cleaning up just some bumps and some hairs, and just little things. Again, I'm not getting too concerning. We don't want the old plastic face that some bad editors do. I used to do that myself. And in fact, I might even be too close. Sometimes I like to edit from a little bit further away, just so I don't over edit every little pore that I see. Sophie has some amazing freckles on her face, and I'm really happy that they have, even with the editing and the color, have really popped out on her face. I think that's amazing. I'm really excited to have those in there. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm really happy with this image. So again, just cleaning up just some little bits. Everybody has their own way of doing this, and everybody has their own way of own limit on how much they want to edit or not edit. And I think we're going to keep this very limited today, especially without a Wacom Tablet. I'm literally doing this on a touchpad, and it's a pain in the ass. Come down here, get some dirt. I'm not going to worry about it too much. This image is going online. If I were to ever print this image, or if this image was for a client, obviously I would go in here and do a little bit more retouching and editing, and really just make it as professional as I can. But since this is a portfolio piece, I'm not gonna worry too hard on this. Sophie is, as you can see, a professional hand model here. Absolutely nailing it with the crucifix. All right, so I'm just gonna leave all that in there. Bring this back out. Yeah, I'd call this a win. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's it, guys. That's sort of my editing process from start to finish, really, from the beginning of the photo shoot all the way through to this. Thanks for joining us. This is our first one, so it's a little rough, a little bumpy. I'm hoping to get this computer better set up in the future, so that I have more filters and not filters, but actions and presets and things that I like to use to make the retouching process a little easier. But we're going to keep recording future editing sessions so that you guys can see them and see what you think. Catch you guys later.